And welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Just Parlays show here at the Max Wagers Network. I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, and joining me once again is parlay expert Chris King. And together, we're going to go through the Thursday card, maybe even a little bit of weekend action. Not sure yet, but we're I know occasionally we talk about college football for Thursday. But in general, baseball was really the only thing on the menu yesterday. How'd it go for you? Did you find any entertaining games? Did you make some money? How'd it go?
Sure. I mean, everybody liked the Yankees game, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, my Pirates team total over did not get there. They finished with 2. I had the team total of 2.5, 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Needed 1 run in the final 3 innings. Couple guys in scoring position, no runs. So I ended up losing 14-2. Good win for the Yankees. I actually had a sprinkle on Judge no home run at minus 235, and that ended up cashing for me.
He did double twice, though.
He did. That equals 1 home run if you add up the bases together. But I saw the number. I wasn't going to take it, but then I saw minus 235. The thing about home run races or just guys that are having ridiculous years, people start thinking that it's easy to hit a home run in basically 4 at-bats in a game. It's not that easy. I thought minus 235 was kind of ridiculous, and I made money on it. So I ended up losing overall, but it cut into my losses.
Yeah, the one that hurt the most, I think, yesterday was I didn't expect Lance Lynn to get smacked around as much. I mean, we talked about how that game was going to go over the total. They ended up bumping it up because when we were on yesterday, the total was still 7.5, and it closed at 8.5. I mean, they still got past it anyway, but still didn't expect that. Didn't expect Seattle to do nothing for the second straight night against Oakland pitching. Robbie Ray ended up with a no decision because Swanson blew it in the 7th. But on the plus side, the Royals were a plus money team that won. What else was there? Well, I mean, the Rangers won. That was nice to see Dane Dunning actually, pitch well enough to get a win.
Yep.
And then you had that low-scoring game at Petco with the Cardinals.
Cardinals, man. I mean, they're in line to make me money unless they have a serious collapse. That team is just not very good. And it really kind of goes down to it when I've been watching the Cardinals play. They're trailing all the time. It's just a matter of can they come back with some miraculous 7th-inning rally or whatever. But watching that team play, damn, the NL Central sucks. Because I don't think the Cardinals are very good.
No, it's a bad division. I mean, Cincinnati, they've lost their only good players to injury, and they have no rotation. The Pirates are, to quote Dennis Green, the Pirates are who we thought they were.
Yep, pretty much.
And, the Cubs are...
The Cubs are who we thought they were as well. So
yeah, they're in the middle of trying to figure out what they're going to do. I know there's a lot of rumors buzzing around in the off season that, 2 of the names that are being linked to Chicago right now are Turner and Rodon. I mean, I'd be happy if you got one of those guys.
I don't see Turner going there. Rodon, is he a free agent or they would have to trade for him?
No, he's a free agent.
Okay. I don't really know what the appeal is of going to the Cubs at this point. No offense. But you're in the beginning stages of a serious rebuild.
Well, you're playing in the NL Central, though, so, I mean, you're good.
I guess, but the point is you blew up the entire core, or not the entire core, because for some reason Contreras and Happ are still there, which I still don't understand why they didn't ship off either of them. But, yeah.
Because nobody wanted to pay the price.
I guess, but I do think teams would pay the price for Trey Turner, who is probably the second best leadoff hitter in the league behind his teammate, Mookie Betts, and you could argue that Turner is definitely top 3. If you want to make a case for Springer or Buxton, I guess you can maybe make a case, but still. The point is Turner's an elite shortstop, and Rodon is still really, really good. I get the argument is, they're going to go where the money is, but I doubt the Cubs will run unopposed. I don't see the Cubs offering Rodon significantly more money than other teams. I think Rodon is going to field his options and probably go elsewhere, but that's mostly because the Cubs have a pretty decent rebuilding road ahead of them, and I'm not sure if veteran players would want to participate.
Well, I mean, but like we said, they play in the NL Central, and, you could get to the playoffs by winning, 90 games?
Honestly, maybe not even 90. I mean, you might be able to get it in a year winning like 87.
So, I mean, that potential is there as opposed to if you go to, Do you want to go to Seattle and have to deal with Houston? Do you want to go to a team in the AL East and have to deal with the rest of the division? Do you want to go to the NL East and deal with the Mets and the Braves?
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying that I do
Rye
think
Rye says the Phillies should make a run for Rodon. The Phillies, might as well go try and get Steve Carlton back because their pitching staff is a shambles.
they won yesterday. They pieced it together, so that was a nice win.
Pieced it together because Hernandez lined into a double play in the 10th with the bases loaded.
It was a good win for the Yankees. The Phillies got it done. Yankees gained another half game on Toronto, which was nice. But still, not really much more to add there. I'm sure we'll cross that bridge when we cross that bridge. I'm not sure anyone's going to the Cubs immediately. I still expect them to trade Contreras or Happer. I'm not sure if either of them are free agent this offseason.
Contreras is a free agent at the end of the season, but there's talk that he might stick around.
Okay. Well, if he chooses to stick around, then I guess he loves deep dish pizza because, the team's not going to be very good, and I thought they were going to trade him. But
I think he's under contract through 2023.
By the way, speaking of teams that, didn't win titles last year, we mentioned the Cubs. This was a team that was closer in the NBA with the Celtics, lost as the runner-ups in the finals, and now their head coach might not be able to actually coach for the entire season, as Udoka apparently had an improper but consensual, keyword consensual, relationship with a team employee, and now he might end up missing the entire season. First of all, I'm just going to say it. I really don't care. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, I get the fact that he's engaged or he has a fiance. I'm sure he's not the only person in the NBA, and I'm being sarcastic, to cheat on his spouse. Tristan Thompson's been in the league for about 10 years, and that's kind of the only thing he's known for. I don't really care. Like, do I care? The key word is consensual. So if they're two adults, I get that it's not right that she's an employee. Am I wrong for thinking it's really not that big of a news story? And am I also wrong for thinking that he shouldn't be suspended for the whole season? Because I really don't care.
From what I understand, the suspension is going to be coming from the organization itself. It's not anything the league is doing. That's Boston itself saying that we're going to hand this down. And I don't understand the logic. I mean, are you going to tell me when Casey Jones was there, if something like this happened, they were going to, take Casey Jones out of coaching that team? It never would have happened with Red Auerbach.
It was extremely weird with the reporting as well, because Woj came out and didn't even drop a bomb. He just said something happened with Udoka. He'll probably get suspended. And I'm like, so what happened to him, you just won't say it. Like, I don't understand what the reporting was in that situation by Woj. He just said, there's a story. I don't know the details, but there's a story. And I'm like, then you clearly know something because he's going to be punished for it. So the whole reporting behind it was ridiculous. But I said before, they're two consenting adults. Yes, I know it's definitely not good to cheat on your spouse with a team employee. But at the same point, should he be suspended for that? I don't know if he should, because they're both consenting. Like, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I don't care enough. And I feel like it's weird that everyone, including the Celtics organization, is jumping in. We can't have that. Get him out of here for a year.
Get rid of that scrub. It doesn't make sense.
It would have been a big deal if he, forced himself upon her, because that's basically, rape or some type of sexual misconduct. But the key word's consenting. So if they were both into it and they had a relationship, yes, I'm sure it's frowned upon to do that, in companies with the actual coworkers, but a whole season, like, really? I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, Andrew said all the reports about the Allison person they were talking about originally were wrong, according to a new report.
There has to be more details, because from what I've seen right now, that's maybe worth like a week suspension, if that. I really don't see a full season, like a potential termination of contract. Like, really? For this?
Yeah, Andrew's saying he was in a Celtics chat, and they're saying that Udoka is going to will step down.
There's got to be more details, because there's no way. First of all, so you're saying that you're not allowed to date a coworker under any circumstances? Is that basically the policy that the Celtics have? Because that's what it sounds like. Ignore the fact that he had a fiance. I get that that's bad for morality purposes.
Right.
But once again, They're consenting adults, so there was no type of, one party forced it. So I just, am I in the minority here? Like, I don't really see why it's that big of a deal.
It's something I think that they should have handled internally instead of making it into something to feed into the news crystal cycle so we have to hear about it with every talking head in the world. But it doesn't make a ton of sense. I mean, maybe we'll find more stuff out later. But I mean, like Andrew said, you're less than a month away from the start of the season. Do you really need these headaches when you're the defending Eastern Conference champs?
I don't really get the punishment involved unless the front office was looking for a reason to get rid of Udoka, and this is kind of the opportunity that presented itself. Or, maybe he had a relationship with an employee, and maybe he had another relationship. I feel like they're concealing some other potential relationships here, because this one specific one, I get it's a coworker, but once again, 2 consenting adults. I really don't think that's warrant for a significant suspension. There has to be other relationships that are being kept under wraps, because it's the only thing that can make sense to me.
Yeah.
And even with that, I mean, you need relationships involving, like, players' spouses. Like, you need something extremely controversial, something you'll see on, like, a soap opera. You need something like that.
Think back about baseball in the 70s when all those guys were swapping wives and everything else. Nobody blinked an eye.
Yeah, the Tony Parker fiasco.
Yep.
With, who was it?
Well, I mean, Jim Bouton talked about it in Ball 4. But
was it Tony Parker or it was somebody else with Eva Longoria? I'm trying to remember the order. Who was the one that was sleeping with other people's wives? That was Tony Parker?
I think so.
Okay.
But the story I was talking about was with the Yankees back in the 70s when you had Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich swapped entire families in 1973. So
I'm really trying to think of that exact situation. Tony Parker, I believe, did admit that he was cheating with a former teammate's wife, which was a thing. I think that sounds familiar. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be a story like that that's going to break. Because right now, I really don't see anything that for grounds of a long-term suspension, let alone a potential of him stepping down. There's got to be something involving, like, a player's wife or something. Like, I'm not even trying to just speculate out of nothing, but based on the fact that this is already the immediate reaction, there's got to be some other story behind this that they're just not willing to put into the public.
Yeah, I think Tony Parker was tied to Brent Barry's wife.
That sounds right. Okay.
But in other basketball news, so we can.
But yeah, anyway, my main takeaway for the actual situation, he might get suspended. I genuinely don't care.
Yeah. How about Utah trading another veteran player? They're going to trade Bojan Bogdanovic to the Pistons.
I like the Pistons offseason, man. I think that team on paper is actually not bad.
They're going to get back Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. Not really thrilled about it from the perspective of the Jazz. I mean, Olynyk is injury prone.
Oh, it's a pure cap salary dump. I'm surprised they couldn't get a draft pick in there. I think Bojan's actually a good player. But
yeah, I was disappointed. But, I guess it'll give Lee's another young guy that has the chance to try and do something because, he wasn't going to get a ton of minutes playing over there in Detroit with Cunningham and Ivy and Killian Hayes and all those guys.
It's a great addition for the Pistons because worst case scenario, Bojan's your 6th man and he could shoot extremely well, and that's going to give you a nice offensive boost. Utah's doing what they should be doing, which is blow it all up and hope they get Victor, which is really just the actual goal. The Pistons should, bare minimum, be a play-in team. I think they're that talented. Now, some of it's going to come down to if Cade and Ivy can stay healthy and how quickly Ivy develops and transitions into the NBA. But you look at the overall talent on that team, they're good. Like, I'm not saying that they're a phenomenal team. They're going to be a feisty bunch, though. I could see them winning 40.
Yeah, 40, 45, somewhere in that range.
That's good enough for a playing spot if you get to 40.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, Scott, because it came out that Lonzo Ball, who hasn't played since January, is going to undergo what seems to be his 43rd knee surgery. How long before we turn around and say Lonzo Ball is the next Sam Bowie?
I don't even know if we can, because at least Alonzo had a couple of years in there. Bowie had nothing. So even you could argue that it's not. I don't even know if it's an argument that Lonzo's career is already better than Bowie's entire career, and that's because he had like 2 or 3 healthy seasons. That's basically it. But I get that people don't exactly like the Ball brothers because LeVar, did his TV thing and people found him obnoxious. It's still sad. I wouldn't have paid Alonzo all that money if I was the Bulls. I thought he was an overrated player, but he looked really good, when he was healthy with the Bulls, and unfortunately his knee gave out on him. And it's sad to see. It's one thing if you root for the demise of an athlete, but I am not going to root for injuries upon a guy. Lonzo was a good fit for that team. The Bulls were very good in the first half last year when he was healthy. It's sad to see, but injuries are a part of the sport. And now you have to wonder if he'll be able to fully heal with the new minor procedure. We'll see how that works out, how the pain tolerance turns out to be, or if there is no pain at all. I hope he gets back to full strength, but it's seriously concerning when you have a knee procedure and you still have lingering pain and you need another knee surgery. That's definitely not a good sign.
I mean, look at some of the guys that were drafted after him. And this is even going down to the second round.
I was a big De'Aaron Fox guy instead of Lonzo. I was very high on De'Aaron Fox. I thought that he dominated against Lonzo in the tournament, so I was a bigger fan of Fox than Lonzo.
But you had Monty Morris in the second round. Dylan Brooks went in the second round. Damian Dotson, to a lesser extent, Dwayne Bacon, Frank Mason the third. Those were all second-round guys. And then you look up here in the first round, Derek White was selected 29th.
I think Lonzo's better than all those other guys, but still.
Kuzma was drafted 27th. Josh Hart was 30th.
Kuzma's had an interesting career. Like, he seems to be having a second win there with the Wizards because he gets the ball a lot more. I'm curious if his stats take a massive dip because Beal's going to take 30 shots a game next year, and Porzingis as well. So I'm not exactly sure what Kuzma's going to do. I don't think Lonzo's a bad player. I just think that he was so hyped up because his father was on TV all the time and he went to UCLA and people were crowning him to be this guy. And I never thought he was even the best point guard in his own class.
Okay, now theoretically, with the second pick, would you have taken Lonzo Ball or Jared Allen?
I would have taken Allen. But
what about Anunoby?
That's a tough one. I really do like Anunoby. He's also had his injury issues as well. That's actually really tough because I really like Anunoby as a player. I think he's very, very underrated. I think that's why Toronto kept him. He was rumored to be traded during the offseason. I think they kept him because they realized how good he is.
What about John Collins?
I think Collins is a more talented player, but I hate that contract with a passion. And I have to factor that in because you're kind of priced in to give the rookie the massive extension. I think that's why I'd probably rather have Anunoby than Lonzo because Anunoby didn't get paid that much when he signed the extension with Toronto. So I'd probably go with him.
But I mean, look at some of these other guys in the first round. Adebayo went 14th.
Adebayo I'm picking above almost everybody in that class. So
Mitchell was 13th.
I think in order, I would go Tatum 1 because Tatum's got to be 1 in that draft class. Adebayo is probably 2. I'd put Adebayo above De'Aaron Fox.
Where would you put Mitchell, or just trying to see who else was?
Mitchell's tricky too. I forgot he was in that class. I liked him in Louisville. I thought he was going to be a good player. Mitchell, a lot of it also comes down to contract. I think Mitchell, talent-wise, is probably better than Adebayo. But I think Adebayo is more conducive to playoff winning basketball because Mitchell doesn't guard anybody. So Mitchell would have to be – I think he's better than Fox. I think Mitchell's either 2 or 3. Tatum's clearly 1. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Tatum's obviously 1 in that class.
How far down do you put Markell Fultz?
Probably somewhere in the teens. I mean, he's had a decent run there with Orlando. He just can't stay healthy. You're hoping he gets it together. I think he's probably in the teens because he's still a decent bench option for a point guard. Like, he's not awful. He's going to be in the league for a while.
And to your point about Sam Bowie, Bowie did have a couple good years where he wasn't hurt all the time. He averaged 15 points a game for the Nets in 91-92 and 8 boards. I don't know how many games
he played in that year, but
71.
Okay, not bad. Look at you. Okay.
And he averaged 11. He played 511 games over the course of his career. I mean, granted, it was over 72 years, but still, he averaged 11 points a game almost and 7.5 rebounds. I mean, he wasn't a 3-point shooter, but nobody drafted centers back then to shoot threes.
Yeah, definitely true. But besides that, the Lonzo thing's kind of sad. Just to go full circle, it is what it is. Chicago's going to try to overcome it. I didn't like their win total this season anyway. I like the under. I feel like the team is more like the second half team last year than they were the first half team, especially with how DeRozan was playing at an MVP level for about 3 months. I don't see that happening again. But still, I think that if you want to look at the Bulls as a whole, they might miss the playoffs. I think they're going to be arguably a play-in team. I'm pretty low on that overall team, but I know a lot of people want to talk about some of the games actually today.
There's games? Who wants to watch those?
Well, I do want to ask you, though, for your parlays, I'm assuming you have one parlay with an NFL piece in there.
No, I think I left it out because I didn't.
Okay, you do not. So do you have any college games in there?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, which college games do you have? You don't have to say the play, but which games do you have?
Coastal Georgia State.
That's the only game you have?
Well, there was only 3.
No, I'm asking. You don't have anything on the other 2?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to put Illinois and Chattanooga in because then people will be like, why'd you put Illinois in there when they're minus 1,000 on the money line?
So, okay. Since you have that, we'll talk about the other games first, and then we'll get into the parlays. So starting off with the NFL, I had my play today into the NFL. I got the under, 38.5. Let's root for some Big Ten football. I'm excited. Get the punts ready.
I put that one in one of my I had that one in one of my premiums too.
I had to go with the under. People are going to be scared off blindly, and the public's going to love the over. It's the only NFL game on. You want to see points. It's in the 30s. Public's going to be all over the over. There's a reason why this line has dropped like 2-3 points. I know that Cleveland's offense has actually been decent, but Pittsburgh's offense is an absolute dumpster fire. They've recorded less than 268 yards of offense in each of the first 2 games. They can't move the ball. And Najee Harris is still a bit injured. The offensive line stinks, and Trubisky's their quarterback. And Tomlin's also a defensive-minded coach, and he's not afraid to punt on every 4th and short. Tomlin...
You look at last year's matchups, too, and the 2 meetings had totals of 25 and 40.
Tomlin is the guy who coaches field position like it's 2002, and he tries to just punt on every 4th and short because you have to win the field position battle. That's pretty much the only thing Tomlin tries to do offensively, and the fact that it's going to be serious wins, I have to go with the under. At the end of the day, you're going to see 20-something mile-per-hour winds, gusts up to 35 miles per hour. I see a lot of handoffs. I see a lot of short passes. I see a ton of punts. And the truth is, I don't see many long field goal attempts. I'm curious if you will sacrifice good field position for attempting 55-yard kicks in 20-mile-per-hour winds that are circling. I don't see that happening. I think you're going to see a lot of punts.
If Brandon Staley was coaching, you would.
I think you're going to see a lot of punts, and I'm going to go with the under as a result. Even if Cleveland can run the ball. I think Cleveland's going to have success on the ground. Do I think they're going to have many big plays? Maybe if Chubb breaks one. But I do think you're going to see a lot of long drives, 7 minutes off the clock, maybe even settling with field goals. We'll see. We know Pittsburgh's red zone offense is atrocious, and they'll kick field goals inside the 5-yard line if they want to, because Tomlin does that all the time. So I see this game being a hideous rock fight, and I think the only way this goes over is if Chubb breaks a couple of huge runs for touchdowns or defensive touchdown. I think you need a lot of turnovers to happen if you want this over to cash. But I'm not sure how Pittsburgh's going to actually move the ball in this game. They can't throw. They can't really run. And I know Tomlin still have a good defense. Like TJ Watt, I know is out. Their defense is still pretty solid. I just think at the end of the day, you're going to see an ugly game. Do you think either team is guaranteed to reach 20? I don't think either team's potentially going to reach 20.
I think this one could be 17, 17-10, 17-13, something like that.
That's what I saw the score being. I thought it'd be 17-13. Maybe Cleveland gets to like 24 if they can actually run the ball well. Do I think Pittsburgh gets past 13 or 14? Probably not. I think you really need a defensive touchdown or a defensive, turn over the results in a red zone appearance for this over to cash. There's just way too many things that need to go your way. I'll do what I always do, which is back the under in really bad weather, and it usually cashes.
Well, I mean, case in point, just look at last year's Monday night game with Buffalo and New England, and when the winds were swirling in Orchard Park, and it's just the other side of Lake Erie.
What was the score in that game in the end? 14 to like 6?
14-10.
14-10? I mean, and even with that, you had the massive Harris like 70-yard touchdown run in the first quarter.
Yep.
So you had a breakaway touchdown. You still didn't have any points. Now, it's not like that. I think that wind was like 40 miles per hour. I'm not comparing it exactly, but it's the same idea. We also saw the bad weather in the Niners-Bears game. That was mostly based on bad turf because of the actual, rain. But that game was a rock fight as well. I just feel like people will blindly bet the over because of the fact it's a total in the 30s and people want to bet it. Primetime unders have been really good this year. They're 6-1. Unders as a whole are 21-10-1. So if you've been betting unders blindly, you've made a ton of money. Unfortunately, I backed the wrong under on Sunday because I had the Dolphins and Ravens under, but we're not going to talk about that. But still, I like the under. I think that the Browns are going to win. It's one of those rare moments where the bad weather actually benefits the team that's favored. Usually you expect to take the points in bad weather because you're not expecting many points. But Cleveland can actually run the ball extremely well, and Pittsburgh can't. I think the bad weather actually does a lot of favors to Cleveland.
Yeah, and plus figuring you point out about how Pittsburgh struggled running the ball. Najee Harris's foot is not right. I don't care what everybody wants to say about it.
And they can't block anybody.
Yeah, those Litz-Frank injuries are not the easiest thing to come back from at Derrick Henry. And it's going to be difficult for them. Like you said, the Steelers don't block. Trubisky can't throw. Andrew was talking about how, you can get Trubisky to throw an interception. It's only a minus 130.
Yeah, and if they fall behind, he's going to have to catch up. I have a potential conspiracy that I know that Tomlin expressed support. Let's just say that Cleveland's up 17-3 midway through the third quarter. Is there a chance that Trubisky gets benched mid-game?
It's possible. I mean, I know it doesn't really correlate because Buffalo had already kicked the tar out of Tennessee, but I mean, they put Malik Willis in the third quarter.
Just saying. I think there's a chance that Trubisky, even though they beat Cincinnati, I mean, you had a pick six and then you had a blocked extra. You should have lost the game.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, you should have lost that game. I think Trubisky's not very good. It's not a surprise. I think everyone feels that way. Everyone's calling for Pickett, and I know that Tomlin's very, very stubborn. But I am curious if he gets benched at some point if the offense continues to do nothing. Just food for thought. I personally took Trubisky under 206.5 in passing yards earlier this week. Now it's down to I think it was 195 last night. I think it's even lower now.
Yeah, Andrew said 191.5.
I'm not surprised. That's really where it comes down to the pro or the sharp and public divide. It's the fact that people are blindly betting the over in the public, yet every single passing prop has dropped. The yards have gone down by about 20 for both quarterbacks. That's 100% sharp action. So if you want to back overs, but you're not expecting many passing yards, it's pretty tough to actually cash an over. Unless you have defensive scores.
Right. Rye said that if the Titans lose this week, you'll see Willis probably get a chance to start. Can you see that if the Titans are 0-3?
I can. I mean, you're trying to think of what Tennessee's going to do. Now, they're lucky because they're in a really awful division. But if the argument is Tannehill's not going to get us there, and we need any type of, boost or jolt to this offense, they know what Tannehill is. I don't think Willis is ready. I think Willis is going to look pretty underwhelming because, I thought he had some bad moments at Liberty last year. He was mostly good. He had a couple of bad outings, and he's not that experienced. But if you want to talk about adding another dimension, if Derrick Henry is actually washed like we potentially think he is, you need to generate something in the ground game. And at least Willis can give you that. Willis gives you another dimension that you don't have. I think Tennessee is just desperate for playmakers, and Willis will make more plays with his legs than Tannehill will.
Yeah, that's for sure. The one thing that I don't want to see from Willis is the Lamar Jackson syndrome where you drop back, you make one read, and then you're off running. And I said the same thing about Jalen Hurts because he does that a lot too. If the first read's not there, he's not looking for a second read or a third read.
For the record, that's exactly who Willis is. Willis is a one-read run quarterback, and that's why I think he's going to have problems in his rookie year. But you also might want to try to reinvent the wheel because your current offense doesn't work.
True.
So,
but and that's just because they traded away A.J. Brown. I don't remember who their other receivers were, but I know that like 5 of their top 6 pass catchers were gone.
You got Robert Woods off an ACL injury, which, whatever. I think that Burks could be good, but he's also a rookie, so we'll see. But as for my takeaways for Thursday night, I'm going with the Browns. I think I originally took the Steelers on the NFL show, but then I saw the weather report, and I kind of had to factor that in as well once the weather became more flushed out. So I'm changing my stance on the actual side. I still like the under. It was my play of the day. If you want to take the over, good luck to you. But in bad weather with 2 offenses that aren't exactly great, I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I have to agree on both counts. I see the line is down to 3.5 at FanDuel as opposed to 4 or 4.5 everywhere else.
Public will blindly take the Steelers, and the public will blindly back the over.
And FanDuel has knocked the total down to 37.5. They're the only ones. Bet365 and PointsBet still have it at 38.5. Everybody else has it at 38.
I'm assuming most books will close a flat 38 with maybe a couple 37.5s in there. But you're going to see a lot of people on Twitter, classic, accounts with tens of thousands of followers that are going to post a lot saying, bad wind expected. And then the public's going to go, bad wind expected. I have to bet it, even though it's been projected to be windy for about 5 days. And you're going to have a lot of last-second under money coming in. So I expect the line to maybe dip another half point before the actual game starts.
Just looking at some of these lines, are you surprised that now the Jets were 4-point underdogs and now they're 6-point underdogs?
I am. Cincinnati can't block anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, given from what we've seen from the Bengals.
You could argue it's a revenge game from last year because the Jets beat them last year. That's a problem because I think the Jets are better this year than last year and Cincinnati's worse. And I think Flacco's better than Mike White. So I think that Flacco could beat this team. It wouldn't surprise me if the Jets had a classic letdown after a miraculous win. But just watching Cincinnati, I got to find out the status of Sauce Gardner, though, because I know that he got injured in the second half, and he needs to play because you got to have him on Chase. But I think the Jets are a feisty team. They're not good, but they're good enough to hang around and potentially beat a team with no offensive line to speak of.
Well, I mean, you look in. Are there any other lines that have jumped out at you? Because I'm looking at see the Giants have gone down to -1 against the Cowboys. That seems a bit reactionary considering, Dallas hasn't played on the road yet.
Yeah, the Giants also haven't beaten anybody. I mean, Tennessee turned out to be awful, and the Panthers are bad. So when you're 2-0, but your 2 opponents are combined 0-4, I'm not sure if that really means anything,
Well, the only team Dallas beat has no wins either.
I mean, the main line that jumped off the page to me, which I mentioned on the NFL show, it's the Rams at 3.5. That's the ultimate reactionary move to the full-on endings that we saw last week. The Rams were up 21. Then they took their foot off the gas, and the Falcons came back and lost by 4. And the Cardinals came back from 20 down with a couple miraculous 4th down and 2-point conversions to win.
And 17 defensive holding calls on the Raiders.
If the Cardinals lose that game and the Rams win by 10, let's say they win by 10, the Rams have to be laying like 6 in this game.
True.
So I'm going with the Rams. That line jumped off the page to me. I think that's solely because the Cardinals won. McVay owns Kingsbury. He's 6-1 straight up against them. I'm not picking the Cardinals missing Hopkins and potentially missing Moore again to stay competitive. Nathan also mentioning that Clowney, he's out. Yeah, he was ruled out immediately early in the week, which is not a good sign for Cleveland. So yes, their defensive line is a concern. But once again, I'm still not sold on the Steelers' ability to actually move the ball in bad weather. And Tomlin's a very conservative coach, and he's going to go even more conservative with the bad weather. Would it shock me if Tomlin punted on like 4th and 7 at the 39-yard line? It actually would not surprise me if he punted. Like, that's the type of game I'm expecting.
Also, Sauce Gardner was not listed on the injury report yesterday.
Okay, good, because they're going to need him against Chase. But, yeah, for me, at the end of the day, I think that the Jets will keep it close. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they'll keep it close. But anyway, that's the NFL kind of breakdown there, and I like the Rams. I think they're going to win handily. But to go through the college games tonight, first of all, you said Illinois is favored by a ton. They're favored by like 16 against Chattanooga.
It was 18. Now I'm looking at it. It's gone up from there. It's now 7 billion. No, it's 19 and a half, between 19 and 20, depending on the book.
Yeah, so I misspoke. I thought it was 16. Apparently it was 18, but now it's
no. It just keeps climbing. That's all.
Keeps climbing. For me, I actually am going to go with Chattanooga in this one.
Damn, that total skyrocketed too, because last night when I looked at the total for this game, let me see. I go through and look at all the games when I.
It really comes down to if Chattanooga can stop the run. I mean, that's really what the game's going to come down to because Brown's a ridiculous running back.
But you talk about value here. The total now is 44.5 or 45. Last night it was 39.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that the mocks are that good or Illinois is that bad where the line is going to shift that many points all of a sudden. I get Chattanooga's 3-0. They haven't beaten anybody because I think all their wins.
They played a bunch of FCS teams, but Wofford was competitive against Virginia Tech. I know Virginia Tech's not very good, but still. Eastern Illinois was competitive against Northern Illinois. They're probably not good either, but the point is they did win comfortably and they beat North Alabama. I just don't feel like it's a spot that Illinois is going to get up for. I know it's a Thursday night game and the people in Champaign are going to be excited, but you look at the schedule. They play at Wisconsin next week. Do I really think they're thrilled to play Chattanooga in this game? It's a classic look-ahead spot for me. I'm actually taking the points.
Well, I would take the points now that it's jumped up.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think the spread's too high. I think Illinois is going to win. I'll think they'll win by like 14. But at Wisconsin next week, there's no way that they're actually prepping for Chattanooga.
Are you surprised the total shifted so dramatically, though? Because like I said, last night, and I went through all the games about 12:30 this morning. That line was 39, or that total was 39.
I mean, I'm surprised because they held Virginia to 3 points. I think Illinois' defense is pretty decent. You know that Bielema wants to run the ball. But if I'm asking about a side or if I'm picking a side, I'm going to go with Chattanooga. I cannot look past a trip to Camp Randall next week when you have an FCS opponent on a Thursday. I think Illinois is going to struggle early on. They'll win probably by 14. I'm not expecting Illinois to win by 3 touchdowns. I think that's a little bit too much.
How many yards do you think Brown gets? 150, 175?
150 was the number on my head. It really comes down to touches. If he gets 30 touches, he'll go for like 180. But it really comes down to how many touches he gets.
Well, I mean, he's going to run the ball. They're not going to or DeVito's not going to call his own number.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But once again, I always look for schedule spots, especially against FCS opponents. You faced off against Indiana. You faced off against Indiana, Virginia, then an FCS opponent, then your biggest conference road game of the season, at least for the next couple of months, maybe at Michigan like 2 months from now. But
I was going to say, so you're skipping over their home game with Iowa. I know you're really excited about that one.
Well, I said road game. But
I know. I'm just saying, after Wisconsin, they get Iowa.
Is their biggest road game of the season against Wisconsin because at least they're in the same division as Wisconsin. Michigan's on the other side. So I don't think Illinois is going to be excited to win this game handily. I think they're already game planning for Wisconsin.
Are you as a Wisconsin alum?
Ohio State is.
Are you going to speak about how Wisconsin is back after they beat New Mexico State?
Ohio State is going to boat race this team by like 28 points. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
So, in case you're scoring at home, the answer to the question, does Scott Reichel think that his alma mater is back? The answer is a resounding no.
No. And to go through all the other games, West Virginia against Virginia Tech. I know yesterday we talked about it. I'm going with West Virginia. At least they can do something offensively. And Pitt, I'm not going to say Pitt's a bad team. I think they're fine. Virginia Tech probably should have won the game. So the fact that they almost beat Pitt in Pitt, I think West Virginia is not terrible. Turns out Kansas is actually decent. Virginia Tech, I just don't think is a good football team because they can't move the ball offensively, and they lost to Old Dominion. I'm going to go with West Virginia there. I just think they're the better team.
The funny thing is everybody's talking about how, hey, Grant Wells hasn't thrown an interception in 2 games.
Who they play?
They played BC and Wofford.
I'm proud of them. Nice.
He only threw 42 passes in that stretch.
He should. That's about 40 passes too many.
Well, they don't have the ability to just hand it off very. They don't run the triple option.
Yeah, but I'm going to lean to West Virginia. I'm not going to have any action on it. But for the other game, I know you're going to talk about it. I like Georgia State. That line has trap written all over it. And Coastal beat Army. Nice win. Props to you there. You struggled against Gardner-Webb and Buffalo lost to Holy Cross. Georgia State.
Hey, Buffalo lost to Holy Cross on a Hail Mary. Why? Because it's Holy Cross.
Just saying. Still, the point is Georgia State lost last week to Charlotte, scored a bunch of points, but Reynolds was back, so Charlotte was better than I guess you could make an argument for because Reynolds is the best quarterback they ever had. They lost to North Carolina in a competitive game, and they lost to South Carolina. I'm on Georgia State. You have an 0-3 team at home getting 2.5 against a 3-0 team. They're daring the public to take Coastal. I'm going with Georgia State.
Guess what? I'm taking Coastal because, like I said yesterday, you look at the series between these teams. Sure, Georgia State won last year. They beat Coastal 42-40 in Conway.
McCall play again. We mentioned that.
Right, yesterday. McCall didn't play. The last game McCall played against Georgia State was in. Is Georgia State the one in Statesboro, or is that the other one? I always get them, and I always get State and Southern crossed up as to where they are.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way, the last game McCall played here was in 2020 on Halloween. Beat Georgia State 51-0. You look at the numbers. Georgia State 125th in the country in pass defense at 304 yards a game. They're 107th in total defense.
For the record, I like the over in this game. I think that you're going to see points.
I do as well. They're 118th in scoring defense at 37.3. Their quarterback is completing 51.7% of his throws. And Coastal's best receiver transferred from Georgia State last year.
Nathan, Coastal did not beat them by 30. You might be thinking of Georgia Southern, but Coastal lost to Georgia State last year.
Yeah, last year was 42-40.
Apparently Georgia Southern is in Statesboro.
Okay, so it's Georgia Southern and Statesboro. So Georgia State, are they in Atlanta too?
They're in Georgia. I don't know.
They're somewhere in
Georgia. I don't know.
In places, it's like, in professional wrestling, parts unknown.
My favorite play in this game, though, is the over. I don't like either defense. I think you're going to see a bunch of points. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. But if I had to pick a side, I'll go Georgia State. The line looks a little bit too good to be true for Coastal. I think it is. But
I just look at it the fact that, like I said, McCall's back. He's looked good this year. Like I said, Buffalo hung around because Coastal fumbled it 4 times in the first half of that game. They still pulled away in the second half. They beat Army, so they're familiar with a team that likes to run the ball. I think Georgia State's best chance here is to keep the ball on the ground. But if you fall behind by multiple scores, that Georgia State team is not a quick strike offense. It's tough to stop McCall, as Georgia State already knows. I get the fact that it looks too good to be true because of the fact that it's a 2 or a 2.5 point line. But let's face it, the road team has won all 5 meetings in this series since they went to the FBS. I don't see anything changing here. I just think that Coastal's the better team. They can shut down the pass game for Georgia State such that it is. And McCall's going to rip through that defense like a hot knife through butter. And I think Coastal's going to win this one by double digits.
I like Granger Danger at quarterback for Georgia State, so we'll see what happens. But once again, my favorite play is going to be the over because I don't think it's going to be a short – I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think if Coastal wins, they're going to score 40. And I think Georgia State can do enough. I think it's going to be a track meet. I just see a bunch of points. But
I think if Coastal wins, they're going to score at least 40. I think if Georgia State wins, Coastal's still going to score 40.
I think if Coastal wins, they'll score 30. I think some turnovers might get in the way. But I like the over there. Besides that, for me, once again, we'll get through the parlays. You can go more in depth on that, but that's kind of our thoughts for the games. I saw somebody asking before about going through the Saturday games. I don't think we're going to have time for that. Actually, for tomorrow, yeah. I think we can do that tomorrow. Since we did the NFL show this past week, I don't think we really need to do it again for the parlays or anything like that on Friday. So we will do college football tomorrow. Steve and I are still doing the college football show, so I'll give out my 3 favorite picks there. But before we actually get into the parlays for the Thursday card, time to do what we always do, which is go through who sponsors the show. We have Caesar Sportsbook. They have a great deal for first-time users of their app or website. Get up to $1,250 free bet insurance. Download the app today. Always check your state's age limits. And as we always say, bet responsibly. Plus, my co-host Chris King does have a ton of extra parlays, which are his favorite ones because you have to pay for them. And they've done very well for the past week.
There's way too many of them.
Still, that's a good thing, though. You get a lot of content, a lot of bang for your buck, so to speak. Don't forget to check those bets out, the premium plays. Check the link in the show box below. Plus, check out both picks and parlays, plus the Winners and Whiners website and YouTube channels for free picks all day. And I forgot to say this in the past. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications whenever we end up having our show.
Hey, Andrew, we're not going anywhere yet.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere yet. Just letting you know, taking care of some housekeeping. Other than that, though, time for the parlays. I'll let you do your thing.
All right. How about we start with the good old 2 for the money, and there's Coastal Carolina at the top of it.
Boo.
Yeah, well, you can boo all you want, you know.
Yeah, it's whatever. We're going to see what happens. I still like the over is my favorite play.
Everybody boos a winner. Like I said, I just can't see Georgia State stopping anybody. You look at their numbers. There's a reason why Georgia State's 0-3. A couple of things that I left out when I was talking about the game. Georgia State's special teams are abysmal. They've had 2 punts blocked in return for scores. They've missed a field goal. They missed an extra point in the 1-point loss to Charlotte. This team leaves points on the field whenever they send their special teams units out there. That could swing the difference in this game just by that itself. Coastal Carolina already has a kickoff return for a score this year. In a game where Georgia State has to be good to great in all 3 facets, they've already fallen down on the job in one of them. I'm going to go with the Dodgers.
We talked about that game, so we'll just move on.
I'm going to go JR wants to know, do we lean on the West Virginia Tech game under 50? I just saw it at 50.5.
I'm kind of torn on that one because Virginia Tech is so bad offensively, but West Virginia is so bad defensively that I feel like you're kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah, they've got West Virginia's gone over all 3 times. Virginia Tech has stayed under all 3 times. Virginia Tech hasn't had a total higher than 37 combined points this season. Meanwhile, the lowest combined point total West Virginia has is 69.
I have no idea about that total. I can't even say it's correlated or not because I'm not sure Virginia Tech's. If you like Virginia Tech, take the under. That's the correlation. I think West Virginia could win in an under or an over. So I don't really have many thoughts. But if you like Virginia Tech, it kind of needs to be a low-scoring game. Yeah,
if Virginia Tech's going to win this game, neither team is going to probably go over 24 points.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. So if you like the under, you could bet it. But if you like
the under, back the Hokies. If you think you're going to see an offensive bonanza, then I think you have to lean towards the Mountaineers for sure.
I was going to say, I think the game could go under if the Mountaineers win too. So if you like the under, you can take it. But if you like Virginia Tech, then you should put in the same game parlay because if they're going to end up winning, then it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, Virginia Tech's not going to win this game 30-27.
No, I think, as you said before, if they win, it's probably like 23-20.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, like Scott said, if you're backing the Hokies, then throw the under in with it. Otherwise, you'd probably be better off staying away from it because if West Virginia wins, like you said, they could win either way.
Yeah, I'm not touching the total because I think West Virginia wins, but that's just another way to look at it.
The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, good pitching matchup, Scott. You got Urias going against Zach Gallen.
Yeah, Diamondbacks been a little bit feisty in the series so far.
Yeah, what the hell's up with that?
Dodgers have nothing to play for, I guess.
Well, I mean, come on, they're still trying to chase down that win total.
Yeah.
And thanks for the props on the college basketball parlays, James. We did have some good success last year.
I got my ass kicked in college basketball last year. It was really a tale of 2 seasons because the first year that I was really digging fully in with picks for college basketball, I hit like 67%, and my average line was like minus 115. Like I was absolutely crushing. Last year, I think I was below 50%. Like I got absolutely buried in college basketball last year. Not
But
sure what happened.
were you playing all the games with all the with the sharper lines or what?
No, I was beating line moves. I just kept getting my ass kicked. I kept losing unders in overtime, and I kept having a lot of like bad breaks go my way. But nothing really changed. I just didn't get the results I wanted. But college basketball was good 2 years ago. We'll get it back going.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fickle thing, especially with totals, because like you said, you can get a bunch of garbage time points one way or the other.
I was the master of like the 90-point second half when I needed less than like 88. Like that was really my main, I'd say, finish for college basketball. I think the last play that I had, or one of the last plays, I had Virginia and North Texas under in the, was it Virginia or North Texas? North Texas was in the one of the like NIT or whatever, and the only way I lost was overtime. You had a foul on a three-pointer with 3 seconds left to send the game to overtime, and the game went over in overtime. I remember I was in Vegas for that. That was rough.
I think I remember that. Didn't we do that? Wasn't that game?
It wasn't Virginia, though. It was the game before Virginia. I forgot who North Texas played. But they fouled on a 3, and it was just devastating to me.
But wasn't that did we do that game on Chaos or something like that?
We might have. I think we did. It was the game before that, though. It definitely wasn't the Virginia game because that game actually like flew over.
Texas State.
That was it. It was Texas State. I needed to avoid either a massive second half. I think they combined for like 50 points in the first half. And I'm like, all right, I'm good. And then you had a bunch of points in the final like couple minutes, including a foul on a three-pointer to send the game. Oh, that's right. It was a foul on a three-pointer. If he made all 3, I won. He made 2 out of 3 to send it to overtime, and I lost in overtime. That's what I remember from college basketball last year.
Yeah, that game was 32-28 at the half. It was 57-57 at the end of regulation.
I had the under 118, I believe.
Yeah, you and Steve both did, because I think I took the over on that one.
I had the under 118, but I'm pretty sure North Texas got fouled on a 3 with like 3 seconds left, and he made 2 out of 3 instead of making either all 3 or less than that. And it went over in overtime. That's what I remember. So that one game sums up my college basketball betting last season.
Yeah, the final score of that game was 67-63.
It was so brutal. I just remember watching that in Vegas, and it was just so painful in the sportsbook watching that happen. It was so rough.
Yeah, J.C. Stone said the college hoop games get tricky at the end because coaches think they can foul their way back, and it totally jacks up the totals. Only if you have good free throw shooting teams. Yeah. We talked a lot last year about teams like Boise State that couldn't hit a free throw to save their friggin' lives.
And I think that's why the North Texas beat was so bad, because the guy that made 2 out of 3 was like a 91% shooter, and he bricked the first free throw. I think that's either way. Point is, that sums up my college basketball season. But either way, to go back to the parlays.
Do you have any thoughts about Urias and Gallon tonight?
I actually kind of like the value with the Diamondbacks first 5. Maybe an under in that one. I get your argument with the full game because the Diamondbacks bullpen's terrible. I think I just like the first 5 under. Give me 2 very, very good pitchers performing well. And I think you're probably going to see a 2-1 game through 5, something like that.
Do you think there'll be that many runs on the board after 5?
The point is, whatever the actual first 5 total is, it's not going to be lower than 3.5, so I'll take the under.
Yeah, I was just going to go pull up and see what it was. Is that what they're showing it is, 3.5?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, I could see it. I was going to say it was going to be 1-0 or, could be double donuts. But yeah, I think it's going to be a well-pitched game. The full game total is 7. They might not get there either. I think that came down because I think it was 7.5 originally. But moving on, we've got the Brewers and the Reds. A lot of strikeouts in this game coming, Scott. We got Woodruff and Hunter Green.
I saw somebody posted an alternative strikeout parlay yesterday. 4 pitchers, like 8+ or 10+ strikeouts. I think it was like $20 to win like $20K, and it actually cashed.
It did?
Yeah, it actually did. You had like McKenzie over 8.5 at like plus 500. And I'm like, how the hell was that a thing? Okay, cool.
Yeah, sometimes you wonder where some of these people come up with these odds.
Yep.
Yeah, Justin Verlander over 3 strikeouts plus 650.
I want to know what the hell the odds were for Snell double-digit strikeouts, because we both loved it yesterday, and he had 10 after like 5 innings.
Yeah, and I mean the books only had it up to 6.5, and
that's what I'm saying. You get alternatives at a couple other books, but
True. And the Mariners, God forbid, can somebody on that fucking team hit? You faced Oakland the last 2 games. You had 1 hit against Sears and the bullpen. Yesterday they had 4 hits against Caprelli and the same shitty bullpen.
They're feeling the nerves, man. Potentially making the playoffs for the first time in about 20 years. They seem a little bit nervous.
On the plus side, they get George Kirby going today, and Kirby has been really good since the beginning of August.
I think I'm blindly taking the under. Seattle can't hit, and Kirby's actually pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty much dominated the A's this season.
Yeah.
I mean, free throws are important in college basketball. I mean, we talked about it a lot. Like I said, with Boise State, they were like 350th in the country, and you talk about a team like Villanova. Villanova is not a team you can get back in the game by fouling because they knock down 80+%. Scott, how about the Yankees and the Red Sox?
The Yankees have been hitting the ball very well lately. So the fact that the offense is going, the fact that it seems like the slump, knock on wood, is over, and Boston had a mediocre series there against Cincinnati, but who cares? I mean, the team's not playing for anything. The Yankees, despite a couple of choke jobs in the 9th inning, have actually fared well against Boston this season. And with how well they're hitting, they just swept Boston, and I believe a 2-game set in Fenway like a week or 2 ago. I still don't know why it was a 2-game set, but still. I'm going to go with the Yankees. I think that they're just the better overall team by a wide margin.
Are you concerned at all about Waka pitching since he's 11-1?
It's not ideal. Last time he faced the Yankees, he gave up no runs, but it's more just the fact that I think it's a good price for the Yankees since they're actually playing for something. 145 sounds pretty cheap for a Red Sox team that is really just not good at baseball. Like the Red Sox on the road, they're 35-39. Yankees are still 52-22 at home. Tyone's been good, so I do think that helps. He's been particularly good, I believe, at home. So let me look at Tyone's numbers really quickly.
I think he's 13-5, something like that.
He has not been good against Boston, though. He's been okay, not great. At home, though, 3.72 ERA, so he has been better at home. If you want to take Boston, take the first 5, but I'm not picking Boston to win the full game.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Boston's bullpen. They've had to use it a ton.
Yeah.
And most of the guys that they have in it aren't very good. This next one, are you surprised that the Astros are only minus 179 with Justin Verlander on the mound?
100%. They just killed Tampa in Tampa, and Tampa's really, really good at home. Houston is really just on another level in the American League. They're so far ahead of everyone else. And Baltimore, nice win. Congratulations. You beat Detroit one time this season. I'm proud of you. But Houston is so good. It's really just a machine. I have to like Houston here. Verlander's incredible. He's going to be my pick to win the Cy. I don't think it's really close. I'm with you. I think Houston wins this game comfortably.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was that low because last night when I did everything, there was like 4 or 5 games that had no lines. And then I looked this morning and saw it was minus 179. I was like, what the hell is this? Shane Bieber and Johnny Cueto. Like you said, you thought the White Sox had to get the win with Cease on Tuesday night. Of course, then the bullpen proceeded to give up 9 runs after Cease left. Yesterday, Lance Lynn got roughed up. Cueto missed his last start because he was dizzy.
Several times. They had to postpone his start like 4 separate occasions.
Yeah, true, because he was going to go Saturday, then he was going to go Sunday, and then I think he was going to go Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then they decided he's going to go today. Maybe he should just get fake being dizzy again and sit down.
So this was my runner-up for my play of the day. It was really close. It was 1A, 1B. I went for football because most people want football. I love the Guardians today, and I think they win comfortably. This game might be a rout. The issue that you have with Chicago is that they put everything they had into the first game of the series, and they lost in extras. Moncada didn't cover third base. The game fell apart. Then he had the lazy error in the first inning. They got killed in yesterday's game. It really looked like a team died in the middle of that game yesterday. Chicago needed a big series at home in order to make a run at the division. It's over. I think if you want to look at body language and if you want to look at just the overall morale of the team, I think Chicago gets killed tonight. I think it's over. I think Chicago had their chance, didn't work out, and we saw yesterday they quit. I think they're a pure fade the rest of the season. I love Cleveland tonight. I think they win -1.5, maybe even -2.5. I see a blowout game. The White Sox, I think they just want the season to be over. But I saw a team die yesterday.
To quote Van Halen, which I've done several times on the show, for the White Sox, dream another dream. This dream is over.
I mean, do you think the White Sox bounce back tonight? Because in the most meaningful series of the year, you lost a heartbreaker, and then you responded by laying an egg. I don't think they get up for Game 3.
Oh no, the after losing Tuesday night, that gut punch of getting, they didn't even show up yesterday. It was what?
No, they didn't show up at all. They
after
got
3 innings or something.
It's over. I think Cleveland kills them tonight. Might be like 7-1. I think you can go alternatives if you want to go for a huge plus price. I think the Guardians absolutely dominate tonight. And Bieber's also the much better pitcher.
And then we got much to the chagrin of Rye, I'm sure, the Braves over the Phillies. I know Ranger Suarez has been okay. Some people might want to say he's been good. I still liked it better as a bullpen piece than I do as a starter.
That's fair.
And Max Fried is going for the Braves. Apparently that's why they pushed him back and started Elder yesterday against the Nationals. Not that Elder was bad, but, the fucking Atlanta bullpen does what Atlanta's bullpen does and blew the game.
It's a hell of a price for the Braves at -140. No offense to Rye. You watch the Phillies play and the fact they're going to make the playoffs, I don't think they're very good as a team. I know hitting-wise they have a lot of talent. They can't field, and they can't really pitch. Having said that, nice win yesterday against Toronto. But Atlanta's so much better than them. It's really not even close, right?
I have to agree. I mean, I just Atlanta's, like we said yesterday, Atlanta's probably the deepest team in the majors after the Dodgers.
Yeah,
and,
I think you could argue maybe the Mets, but I think the Braves have a bit more depth.
But I mean, they can match up with anybody you want to throw out there, anyone you want to throw out there. Yeah. Bill asked if we're still on the over because it's been bet up. I see it's between 62.5 to 63.5, depending on the book you're at. Last year's game,
I like the over.
Yeah, last year's game had 82, and that was without McCall. Coastal this year has seen totals of 66, 58, and 64. Georgia State, they've been in a couple of lower scoring games, 49. Well, not all lower scoring games, 49, then 63. That fell short against North Carolina by 1.5. And then they had 83 last week in the loss to Charlotte. And let's not forget, that was a game where Georgia State was favored by 20.
Yeah.
I think this was going to be a high-scoring game. And like Scott said, for Georgia State to win, they're going to have to score a bunch of points. Coastal's going to score a bunch of points anyway because they don't care. That's just what they do. I still think it ends up over the number.
Yeah, I think that it probably ends up over. I just don't see many stops from either side. Even though we disagree on the side, we think Coastal scores at least 30 or close to it. So I think Georgia State can do enough to score arguably 30 as well. I think it goes over.
And that will take us to the shot in the dark. Can't believe there's no CFL today. Couldn't talk about the Edmonton Elks or, the Stampeders.
Well, let me guess. Oh, damn it. I actually was going to be right. I was going to guess. Can you explain to me why Yordan Alvarez is plus money at over 1.5 bases? I was just going to say it, and then I saw it on the second line. I was going to say it, but okay.
Yeah, I still can't figure that out. I know Bradish has been better lately, but come on. Yeah. It's the way he's been hitting and everything else. Had to go with Charlie Blackmon. CJ Crone disappointed me. He started yesterday's game, and then he left.
Yeah.
So he was 0 for 1.
He had a dinner reservation.
Probably. Looked like the rest of the team did too because they only scored 1 run at home. Mookie Betts, Scott, how's he plus money?
Good question. Because Gallen's pitching. I mean, that's the only reason why.
But he's at plus money most of the time anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying for tonight it's because Gallen's on the mound, so I guess I can kind of understand it.
Alejandro, don't call me Captain James T. Kirk for the Blue Jays. Been on a bit of a roll, made the All-Star game as a catcher.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an indictment of how bad some of the catchers are in the American League.
And you have Chargois going for the Rays, who is kind of he's mostly an opener. So you might get a decent amount of bullpen action there. Yeah, Kirk,
Yeah,
I mean, he's very, very slow. So you might have to get a couple of hits in order to get over 1.5, but I still like it.
I like that. He's very slow.
Just saying, because for bases, you hope for double potential. Kirk is one of the slower runners in the league. So,
well, I mean,
I want him to race Yadier Molina. That's all I'm saying.
He could hit a homer though.
He could.
He's got 13.
Yeah, ground rule double. He can take all the time he wants.
There you go. He could just take the leisurely Bartolo Colon stroll.
Yep.
Scott, why is Austin Riley plus money?
That's a good question. That one I don't get. Riley is a damn savage. I mean, we backed them for the whole
quite a
year
while.
at this point. Yeah.
The Cubs and the Pirates. Now, we had the Cubs in this spot yesterday. They proceeded to suck for 6+ innings, but rallied with 3 in the 8th.
I thought they came back and won the game.
Yeah, they rallied in the 8th to win 4-3. Now they get the Pirates, and it's ex-Yankees farmhand Hayden Wesneski.
Didn't even know he was a Yankee farmhand, for the record. Did not know that.
Going against Mitch Keller.
Yep.
Yeah, Wesneski, he was picked up, I believe. I think he might have come over in the Efros deal.
I was going to make a joke and say it was in the Chapman deal.
Yeah, no, he's not that old.
Okay.
He was 6 and 7 at Scranton with a 3.51 ERA and 19 starts.
Well, you're getting plus money fading Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's lost 6 straight. I mean, you're getting plus money. That's kind of just worth it in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, and you look at Wesneski's numbers in the majors. He's made three appearances, 1 start. He's gone 15 2/3 innings, despite only making 1 start in those 3 outings.
Yeah.
4 runs, 9 hits, 2 walks, 18 strikeouts.
I like the plus money there.
Yeah, and so he's got a 230 earned run average, and he's facing Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. On the strikeout train, we'll take a look here. Hunter Green, over 7.5 strikeouts, plus 115. Are you surprised by that, knowing that he's facing Milwaukee?
I think he's going to strike out potentially 10+. I know that he was awful against Milwaukee earlier this year because I made a decent amount of money on the Brewers in that game. But Green was very good last time out, and he strikes out a bunch of guys. So, plus the Reds have nothing to lose. If he struggles early, they might just keep him in because why not? Let's give him some reps.
Yeah, and you looked at his last outing was his first start since August 1st. Threw 6 shutout frames against the Cardinals. Struck out 11.
I was going to say, it was either 10 or 11. I might bet an alternative strikeout for him tonight. I think he could get the 10.
Struck out 11. Only threw 81 pitches.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn impressive.
It is.
Then we've got Shane Bieber. 6.5 strikeouts. Are you surprised that it's that number?
I said the White Sox are going to quit on the season, so I expect Bieber to probably go for like 12 strikeouts tonight.
I'm just looking here. If you wanted to go the alternative route and go pitcher recorded outs, if he gets 1 out in the 7th, you can get that at minus 120. In his last 10 starts, he's gone 7 innings, 6, 7, 7, 6 1/3, 7, 7, 8, 6 1/3, and 8.
By the way, I'm looking at a parlay or some odds here. Trubisky's passing yards down to 188.5.
Boy, they just keep knocking that down, don't they?
Well, I know FanDuel was purposefully trying to rob people because I saw it available at like 200 at one book and FanDuel at 191.5. So FanDuel's been undercutting everybody the entire time, but now it's officially in the 180s.
Is that at FanDuel or is that somewhere else?
That's FanDuel at 188.5. I think most books still have somewhere in the low to mid 190s.
Scott, why is Justin Verlander getting a higher odds prop for over 6.5 strikeouts than Bieber?
I don't know, because Baltimore does strike out a lot.
I mean, does that seem, to use your words, does that seem trappy to you?
A little bit, but I don't know if I really care. By the way, if you want to go for Hunter Green 10+ strikeouts tonight, 5-1.
Good odds.
9.5. 9 strikeouts is plus 280. Let me look at Bieber for a second. Let me see what I can get there. Give me a sec.
Probably like plus 7 zillion.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll organize some type of strikeout parlay. Why not? I mean, if you're $20 to win like 20 grand, yeah, I might as well throw in 3 or 4 pitchers. I can record some strikeouts.
Yeah, Verlander struck out 9 in 5 innings against Oakland in his first outing off the shelf. Just to give you a perspective, and Verlander's start before going on the IL, which came against Baltimore when he only threw 3 innings, struck out 6.
By the way, so Bieber 9+ strikeouts is plus 440. Nice. 10 strikeouts is plus 870.
870.
That's for 10+. And you just said he might go 7. 870. I mean, that's worth something, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just going to look and see what Bieber has done against the White Sox this year.
You're throwing $20 on Hunter Green, 10 strikeouts, and Bieber, 10 strikeouts. It's $20 to win $1,100.
Bieber struck out 7 against the White Sox on 6 innings back in April. That was one of those games where Dallas Keuchel completely sucked before he got cut loose. Then he struck out 4 in a game back in August. But he also has a complete game shutout against the White Sox. So, I mean, you're going to get a ton of innings out of him. And with the way, like Scott said, the White Sox have, just rolled over and died.
I'm not saying it's officially going to win. I'm just saying that if you're going to give me $20 to win $1,000 on 10+ strikeouts for 2 guys that should go some length, and there's some value on there. I mean, if you want to throw in Verlander for fun, the strikeout thing's fun. It's what parlays do. You have the illusion of millions, and then you lose immediately in the first leg. But,
what do they have for Verlander? Do they have any alternate numbers on him?
So Verlander over 6.5 is minus 111. If you want 9+, it's plus 350. 10+ is 680. Well, so if you throw in Verlander 9+ with Green and Bieber, it's $20 to win 4.7K.
So you're looking at basically what 230 to 1, 235 to 1.
Yes, it's 239.
Okay.
Just saying, there are worse ways to spend $20.
And if you get it in real quick, you could throw Kirby in there because Kirby, since the beginning of August, has walked 4 guys and struck out 50.
Let me throw in Kirby. Let's see what happens. This is kind of fun. I might bet this for like $10. Why not? Kirby. Okay, what do you have? Let me see the strikeouts here. Of course, one pitcher gets shelled and you're screwed, but we're having fun over here. Strikeouts for Kirby. 8+ strikeouts for Kirby's plus 360.
Okay, and Kirby starts this season against Oakland. Struck out 9 in 5 innings on May 24th. Struck out 6 in 6 on June 22nd. Struck out 9 over 7 innings on July 2nd.
And for the record, if you keep Green, Bieber 10+, Kirby 8+, and Verlander 9+, it's $20 to win $22,000.
There you go. And if you win that,
okay, $22,000. All right.
If you win that, I get 10% because I put all those guys up in the first place.
I'll Venmo you something.
Hey, that works.
There you go.
But Nathan said, should he add the Cubs at even money for $1K on his 7-teamer?
It's a 7-teamer, so I'm not sure how likely you expect to actually win it.
Yeah, depends what the other 6 are.
I mean, I was going to say, yeah, I'm rooting for you. At the end of the day, I like the value on the Cubs. It's plus money against a team that's lost 6 straight. I think there's good value on that.
I agree. I mean, and like I said, Wesneski has pitched well in his outings. Even Rye said Wesneski is nice, and he's a Phillies fan.
Yeah.
You could do worse with some of the games that are out there. I mean, but like Scott said, you can make some big money on that strikeout thing there.
And if you lose, it's $20. Whatever.
True. Or $10 or whatever else you throw out.
Just take the money you were going to order for Thursday night pizza or wings and just translate it over to a 4-pick strikeout parlay.
Thursday night pizza brought to you by Domino's.
I thought you were going to say like DiGiorno because nobody wants to leave the house. But either way, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll go through a lot of the weekend college football action. I might plead the fifth on a couple games if I have a play for the college football show. But we'll be back. And I'm assuming tomorrow's episode, knock on wood, should be on the Winners and Whiners YouTube page. Hopefully. We're going to work out some technical difficulties there. And we'll figure it out. But until next time, though, we'll be back same time tomorrow. Good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.